I grew up in a developing country, and the PS2 was this miraculous thing that appeared in my house one day. I had one game, Kingdom Hearts 2, and I had this ancient television from the 80s, one of those massive boxes that weighed more than I did. And to connect them, I needed this AV interface, a nest of adapters and cables bridging decades of technology. The screen would glow through all that mess, and Kingdom Hearts 2 would load for the 100th time.
A scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream. I want to line the pieces up. Yours and mine.
Every afternoon, the same ritual. Talk to the shopkeeper, choose the abilities, fight Cypher, get knocked down by the same bosses. For 2 months, I carved the same path through the same digital world. I didn't know I was supposed to keep anything. After 2 months, I finally got new games. God of War, Ratchet and Clank, Andreas.
And I remember asking my older cousin, frustrated, almost angry, why I had to restart Kingdom Hearts every single day.
Why couldn't it just remember where I was? That's when he laughed and told me about the memory card. I bought one the next day. I played and played, then turned off the PS2, and I'll never forget the feeling of booting up Kingdom Hearts that next morning and seeing the load option glowing. It felt like magic, like I'd been given a second chance at a life I thought was always temporary. Like I discovered that reality had a safe function all along, and I'd just been too ignorant to use it. For 2 months, I played that game without memory, and I loved it. I didn't know I was missing anything because I didn't know there was anything to miss.
On the surface, those 2 months looked like repetition, but to 10-year-old me, it felt like devotion.
I knew every line of dialogue. I could navigate Twilight Town in my sleep. I had memorized the timing of every Heartless encounter, the location of every treasure chest I couldn't yet reach. And this game became a song I knew by heart, and every day I sang it again from the beginning. I treated every session like it was the only one that mattered. Every moment was urgent because I knew it wouldn't last. I was completely present because there was no future to save for. And then I got the memory card, and everything changed. Not for better or worse, just different.
With the memory card, I finished Kingdom Hearts for the first time. I saw the ending. I fought bosses that would have been impossible to learn without saving. I never could have done that if I'd kept restarting forever.
But I also started playing differently. I started saving every chance I had to. I gave myself permission to fail. I'd walk into a fight knowing I could reload if things went wrong, so I'd play recklessly.
Die, reload, try again, die, reload.
The boss fight stopped being an event I had to survive and became a puzzle I was brute forcing through trial and error. I remember fighting Blizzard Lord and Volcanic Lord. Before the memory card, I would have learned their patterns, waited for openings, played carefully. But with the memory card, I just kept throwing myself at them. Died 17 times, and when I finally beat them, I didn't feel victorious. I felt like I cheated my way to understanding. I'd be exploring a new area, and instead of pushing forward, I'd backtrack to save point just in case, just to make sure I didn't lose the last 20 minutes. The world started feeling like a resource I was managing. I gained the ability to progress, but I lost that complete presence, the total immersion in the now.
And that tension between moving forward and staying present, turns out to be the question every save system is trying to answer.
Most games give you one of 4 ways to remember. You can save anywhere. The Elder Scrolls,
Your money or your life.
The Witcher 3, Fallout,
I'm only gonna ask you this one time. Give me the naughty nightwear.
press F5 and the universe stops. Your actions are archived. You can leave and nothing will change. Other games like
Since
Resident
you're
Evil,
here, why don't I introduce you to it? It should keep you busy.
Dark Souls, they force you to save in specific places. The save points here are precious and hard-won. Today, most games save for you automatically. The Last of Us, Uncharted. The game remembers for you constantly whether you want it or not. At the other end of the spectrum, perhaps the most extreme are the games that do not let you save at all. Spelunky, Dead Cells. Death in these games means starting over. I used to think these were just different levels of difficulty, different ways to make a game easier or harder, but they are not. They are different philosophies about what's worth keeping, and more than that, they are different philosophies about what it means to experience something in the first place. I do this thing in Skyrim. I save before every conversation, every locked door, every cliff I might fall off. I quick saved before talking to Jarl Balgraf for the first time. I did this every occasion I got, actually. Just in case I picked the wrong dialogue option, just in case there was a better outcome I might miss. So, I saved, talked to him, didn't like how it went, reloaded, and by the 4th attempt, I wasn't even paying attention to what he was saying anymore.
I was just hunting for the optimal path through a conversation I turned into a flowchart.
And here's the thing. I do this because the game allows me to. Because when you can undo everything, nothing feels real anymore. Every choice is hypothetical. Every mistake is temporary. You are not living through the world, you're just browsing it, testing it, always one finger hovering over the reload button. Or in our case, the load button. Which brings me to the opposite approach. What happens when you can barely save at all? In the original Resident Evil franchise, you save with ink ribbons. You have maybe 15 to 20 of them for the entire game. So every time you approach a typewriter, you have to ask yourself, is this moment worth preserving? I remember making it to the police station's main hall for the first time. I'd survived the streets, barely. I was low in ammo, low on health, and I just unlocked a whole new area to explore. I had very limited ink ribbons left, and I stood in front of that typewriter for a full minute trying to decide. If I saved now, I'd preserve this fragile version of myself, wounded but alive. But what if I found more resources in the next few rooms? What if I wasted a ribbon on a save I'd immediately want to replace? Of course, I didn't save. I explored 3 more rooms, found some ammo, took some damage from a liquor, panicked, and ran back to save. The decision felt important because it was limited. Because I couldn't save everything, I had to decide what mattered, and that made me play differently. I memorized enemy locations, I planned routes, I calculated risk versus reward for every single action. The scarcity made the game more personal. It forced me to decide what kind of player I was, what kind of risk I was willing to take, what version of myself I wanted to preserve. And when I finally used that ink ribbon locked in my progress, there was this flood of relief. But underneath that relief was something else. Anxiety, because now I had something to lose. Before the save, I was just existing in the moment. Death meant starting over, but starting over was just part of the experience. After the save, I was carrying a version of myself forward, a version I didn't want to let die. Every risk I took now had a cost attached to it. The save didn't just preserve me, it made me mortal. But what happens when that choice gets taken away entirely? When the game decides for you what's worth remembering? The Last of Us autosaves constantly. I mean, yeah, sure, you can simply turn it off, but for the sake of this video, we'll pretend that option isn't a thing. Every checkpoint, every door you walk through, every cutscene, your progress is saved. You don't have to do anything. It is convenient, seamless. You never have to think about it, but you also never get to choose. I remember the moment Joel lies to Ellie at the end, tells her the Fireflies stopped looking for a cure, that her immunity doesn't mean what she thinks it means. But you can see she doesn't believe him. The game auto-saved right after that. That lie is permanent. That version of Joel is locked in. And I sat there thinking, I didn't choose this. I didn't choose to save here. The game decided this moment mattered, decided this was the version of the story worth preserving, and I don't get a say in it. Thinking about it, this is how memory actually works. We don't choose what sticks, we don't get to curate our own past. The brain auto-saves constantly, indiscriminately. The important moments get mixed in with the mundane, and sometimes the things we want to remember slip away, and the things we want to forget stay forever. There is something honest about a game that takes that choice away from you. It is saying, you don't control your own narrative. You are just living through it. The archive builds itself, whether you like what it is capturing or not. Which leads to the most extreme position. Games that don't build an archive at all. In Hades, you die and go back to the beginning. Every time, your weapons are gone. Your upgrades are gone. The path you took through the underworld is reset. You are back in your father's house, and the game doesn't care that you made it to Elysium last time. Doesn't care that you almost escaped. Except, it does care. Just not in the way you expect. You don't keep your items, sure, but you keep your knowledge. You keep the muscle memory of enemy patterns. You keep the understanding that you should prioritize Athena's deflect over Ares' doom. You keep the you that experienced it, even if the game world resets. I spent 60 hours in Hades before I beat it the first time. 60 hours of dying and restarting. And somewhere around hour 50, I realized I wasn't frustrated anymore. I'd stopped thinking about it as starting over and started thinking about it as practice. Every run was making me better. Not my character, me. The world was always temporary, but the person who played it wasn't. And that's when I understood what I'd been doing all those years ago with Kingdom Hearts. I wasn't making progress through the game. I was making progress through myself. Every time I restarted, I was a little faster, a little better, a little more confident. The game forgot me every night, but I didn't forget it, so which version was better? The 2 months where I was endlessly present but never moved forward, or the years after where I saved my progress but lost some of that presence in the process? I finished Kingdom Hearts because of the memory card. I saw the ending. I experienced Sora's journey from beginning to end. I unlocked abilities and fought bosses and understood narrative threads that only make sense when you can remember what came before. I guess some experiences require memory, some others require growth, which only happens when you can build on what came before. Personally, I needed both. The memory card to progress, the forgetting to understand what progress costs. And the thing is, we can't really be fully present and fully preserved at the same time. We have to choose, moment by moment, whether we're living the experience or archiving it. And that choice changes what the experience means. I still have that memory card. It is in a box somewhere in my parents' house, filled with save files from games I haven't thought about in years. Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy X, God of War, Ratchet and Clank, and so many others.
Every one of those files is a ghost, a version of me that doesn't exist anymore.
The 10-year-old kid is gone. The person who saved that file doesn't exist anymore, but the file remains perfectly preserved, perfectly meaningless.
I could load it right now. I could stand in that exact spot again, with that exact loadout and pretend nothing changed. But I never do.
Because here's what I learned. You cannot go back. You cannot unknow the memory card. Once you learn that you can save things, you can never return to the state of not knowing. The innocence is gone. The desperate presence is gone. You're always playing with the knowledge that you could preserve this if you wanted to. And that knowledge alone, on itself, changes everything.
Maybe that's all save systems are. Different ways of learning the same lesson. That we can document our lives, or we can live them. That we can archive our experiences, or we can be transformed by them. That preservation and presence are always intention. And perhaps the only honest way forward is to feel that tension instead of resolving it.